Welcome to RVCast. In June of 2024, we held the inaugural RV convention. And today, we're excited to revisit an episode from that enormously successful event. Get ready for insights, tips, and inspiring stories from our special guests. And enjoy this informative episode as we dive into the world of RVing. Hello and welcome back for another segment of the RV Convention. I'm your host, Dave Stanley, coming to you from the cab of the Stanley Streamer. And this episode, Grant and Bonnie Sinclair, fantastic writers and RV enthusiasts with incredible insight into getting the most out of your RV adventures. In 2016, Grant and Bonnie Sinclair purchased a travel trailer and started their fun and informative blog, wanderfilledlife.com. Since then, they have taken their camper to all of the lower 48 states and visited more than 300 units of the National Park Service in the process. In 2023, they published their first book, USA RV Adventures, a guidebook for RV travelers of all experience levels with moon guides. So, wow, it's a pleasure, honor, and it's so great to have you on as guests on this year's RV Convention. Welcome, Grant and Bonnie.
Thanks so much, David. We're so excited to be part of this convention.
Yep, great to chat with you.
Oh, fantastic. Well, let's just jump right in. Tell us a little bit about yourselves, what you do for a career, for instance, because you're not full-time RVers. Is that correct?
We're not full-time RVers yet. Hopefully we will get there, but we are both full-time teachers still. So that thankfully does afford us a decent amount of off time. And we spend most of that off time in the RV or traveling of some sort, just across the country, checking out national parks and public lands and exploring the world.
That's fantastic. And so teachers, what subjects do you teach and what age group?
Well, I teach American literature, and that's a junior level class in Georgia. So I teach high school juniors, 16, 17-year-olds. And Bonnie?
I teach math this year, specifically AP pre-calculus, which is 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. So variety of high school. And it's a fun gig most days.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your service in being teachers. And wow, what an exciting thing that you have to offer your students by incorporating your travel adventures into your lesson plans and things like that. Do you do that? And how do the students react to it?
Absolutely. In particular, I incorporate a lot of our travels into my lessons. One of my favorite places that we visited is Concord, Massachusetts, just outside of Boston. We actually did that on our first RV road trip back in 2016. And not only is it the cradle of the American Revolution, where the shot around the world was fired, it's also the cradle of American literature, where Henry David Thoreau and Ralph Waldo Emerson and Nathaniel Hawthorne and Louisa May Alcott all did a lot of their writing. So I get really fired up about that. And we've made a point throughout our travels to visit a lot of the places that I talk about when I'm teaching the stories and novels that I teach.
Oh, that's so fantastic. And how about your math classes? Anything that you incorporate from your travels into your math classes?
It's not as easy, but it is a good way to bond with my students because a lot of them have been to some of the, park sites. And so, we'll talk about things that they've done. I also lead some trips, mostly international trips, but, so do recruit students for that and encourage students to travel as well, whether that's, with their parents or, on school field trips or whatnot. So we incorporate it that way as well.
That sounds so great. And I tell you, if I was 13, 14, 15 years old, I'd sign up for your classes. So that's such a cool thing because you're able to bring in certain things and also experience certain things with your students. Just as you're talking about that, Bonnie, about the international travels, it takes me back to some of my favorite moments with my own kids, taking the international tours of Europe and whatnot. And wow, what a great thing. thank you for your service as teachers, and I'm sure that you're making a fantastic impact on your students. And just for any of your students who may be listening, a shout out to you. You guys made good choices for choosing the Sinclairs classes. So, and what's the mascot of the high school?
The Wolverines.
All right, go Wolverines, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And so you guys have the luxury of having significant time off being teachers.
Mm-hmm.
And is that what, you mentioned that you fill that time off with travels, including your RV travels. Since this is an RV convention, tell us a little bit about your RV background. What motivated you to get into RVing?
Well, we both kind of grew up, camping and mostly tent camping. My dad did have, a pop-up camper and a couple of campers at times growing up, but we did a lot of tent camping, and Grant and I together, stayed in hotels and tent camped. And it was, one too many nights on an air mattress that we said, let's upgrade to an RV. Plus, we wanted to be able to take our cat with us. Our cat traveled with us for a few years before she passed away. So, that really was just kind of that, let's dive in and do it and have a little more luxury, I guess, while camping, be a little more comfortable. And so, yeah, we bought our first travel trailer in 2016, and we've been
camping in it ever since. Every summer, at the very least, we've taken out the camper, and we've been making a point to travel the country with it. We've been to all 48 of the, continental U.S. or contiguous U.S. with the travel trailer. We have not taken it to Alaska yet. That is on our short list, is to drive the Alaska highway, but we want to do a lot more research before we get to that point. But yes, we've enjoyed the heck out of it. In fact, we just got back. We took the camper up to Washington, D.C., and camped just south of the city near Quantico at a regional park, and spent the week going into the Capitol to see all of the national park sites up there.
Wow, so cool. That's a real hub of national parks.
Oh,
yes, it is.
Washington, D.C. That's what a fantastic experience. And so you started off simply as travelers, right?
Yep.
And then the blog came about, wanderfilledlife.com.
Yeah.
What motivated you to start that? And as people check out that blog, what are they going to find?
So I guess it was, the teachers in us that, we said, hey, we want to help other people to be able to do the same things that we're doing. And, Grant has a background in journalism. So it kind of, let's put that to use. And we started the blogs to try to, help out. Like I said, just give tips on where to go, how to get there, what to do once you're there, how to, just kind of prepare the right way to see whatever it is you want to see. And you'll find a little bit of everything on the site. You want to?
Yeah. You'll find a lot of destination-oriented posts. We like to write about the places that we go to, obviously, but you'll also find some gear guides as well. You'll find some itineraries. The main thing that we try to make a point on is to give you amazing places to go. And when you get there, okay, this is what we did when we got there. These are our authentic recommendations of what we did, how we did it, why we did it, and what we really enjoyed about it. So, when we run into things that we don't like, that we didn't enjoy, it's easy for us to say, hey, don't do it this way. We did it. It was wrong.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Include our mistakes as well.
Yeah.
That's such a valuable resource to have for people to check in, because that you're not just reading a paid advertisement to go do something.
Right.
You're actually getting somebody who has physically gone there, done it, and whether or not you liked it.
Yeah.
So that's fantastic. Yeah. I got to ask you, any completely unexpected or off the wall experiences that you'd like to share that you in your RV adventures?
We've had several interesting bits in there. We've had the standard, okay, something broke on the camper. Now we have to find service on the road, but that's pretty much par for the course for any RVer. We were actually talking about this before we started the podcast, and honestly, I would say the two things that really stick out in our mind were on the same trip. We went to Northern California and Southern Oregon to visit the park sites there. And we go to Redding, California, and we're in the midst of a heat wave. At least we thought it was a heat wave.
Normal temperatures for them.
Redding, California. And honest to God, we were there and our air conditioner was not able to keep up.
We eventually had the AC set to like 90 and it could not keep it cooled to 90 degrees. Because outside was like 115 or something. So yeah, it was like we started at our normal temperature. We're like, let's bump it to 80. Let's bump it to 84. Let's bump it to 80. Finally, we just turned the air conditioner off. We were like, it is not worth running out the AC and busting the whole system. Let's just turn it off, go out, see a movie. Was that 2021?
Yes, that was 2021. I think it was
like our first movie that we had gone to after COVID. And, we were like, we're getting out of here. And then, we finally came back after dark and it still took a couple of hours to get it cooled down to, 85.
Opened up the windows, ran the fan and, without turning on the AC to blow out all the hot air but had a comfortable night's sleep at the very least.
Right. Oh, that's so funny. And unexpected, right? Because you think Northern California,
right? Like
you're
we
up
have been
north.
in Lassen Volcanic National Park, which is just an hour east, hour and a half, maybe. We had come straight from there and it had been nice and cool.
Upper 70s, maybe.
Right. And
right
to get there and we were like, what in the heck is happening? And that was wild.
We're not expecting the heat of Redding, California in any way, shape, or form.
And
right.
Maybe it's a lovely town, but we did not have a lovely experience. So.
Yeah.
And then, we continue on the trip. We go to, Redwoods National Park just after that, and it cooled down amazingly.
Right, yeah.
And then we go up to Crater Lake in Oregon. And we had planned, okay, we're going to dry camp here at this wonderful, still to this day, one of our favorite campgrounds, the Broken Arrow Campground on Diamond Lake, just north of, it's a Forest Service campground, just north of Crater Lake National Park. And we're set up, we're loving it. It is amazing. We've got the windows open. It's 82 degrees at the middle of the day. It's beautiful. We had to get the windshield on the truck replaced because rock had hit it. And okay, no big deal. We drive down to Grants Pass. We're coming back. And honestly, David, it looked like we were driving into the apocalypse.
We're headed back to the camera and we're like, what is happening ahead of us? And we were in a sketchy area where we barely had cell service. So we're like, there's a fire. There's a something like, is the campground still there? Is our camper still there? Like, we don't know what is happening as we're getting closer. We're like, we're obviously driving into a wildfire. It took us a little while to figure that out, but we finally figured out we're driving into a wildfire and we're like, okay, let's just see what happened. And thankfully it was really probably only 20 or 30 miles, maybe it was 50 miles
30
away from the campground, but moving in the opposite direction. So the campground was fine. It did have a lot of smoke, as did the national park. And we stayed for another couple of days. The smoke kind of came and went. We ended up leaving a day or two early because it was just it finally just got to the point where it was like, it's not enjoyable. We can't see the blue lake. Air quality is too bad to do any hiking. And
can't really leave the windows open to enjoy the nice fresh air because there is no fresh air.
Right.
But,
right.
Yeah, that idea of like, is our campground on fire? That was terrifying.
And we've been out west multiple times with the camper, Washington State for an entire month, etc., and never run into any problems with wildfires at all. Other than once when we were tent camping in South Dakota, there was a wildfire nearby. But even then, it wasn't enough to bother us. But this time, it was enough to just smoke us right out.
Mm-hmm. Wow. And terrifying.
Yeah. It really was. It really was.
Goodness. Well, and I go back to the heat in Redding, California, and you think totally unexpected, because you'll have to correct me on this, Grant, as a English lit, but I think it was Mark Twain, and I paraphrase that like the coldest winter I ever spent was a summer in San Francisco.
Yes.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you think, oh yeah, it's cool everywhere in Northern California.
Yeah, it is not. I know. And it's so wild because, you have like San Francisco, Redwoods National Park, even Lassen Volcanic, like, all relatively cool places. And then, kind of smack dab in the middle, Redding is hot as can be. And it is definitely check the weather before you go to Redding, California, is what we learned.
Or just don't go in the summer.
Or don't, right.
Or best yet, subscribe to wanderfilledlife.com to know which paths to go, right?
Yes.
Right.
And speaking of, how do people follow you? Where do they go?
We've got social media on Facebook, Wanderfilled Life on Facebook, on Instagram, on X, which is wander_filled. You can also follow us on Pinterest. And if you are of the business sort, we're on LinkedIn too.
Right. And then we do have an email that, we email out once a month maybe. And you can sign up for that on the front page of the website. There is a sign up for that as well.
Oh, fantastic. So a little side note for everybody listening, please check the show notes. All of these links will be listed in there, and wonderful veteran, experienced travelers that you can really gain some nice insights from. Any other things that we can look forward to in the future with Wanderfilled Life?
Go ahead.
I was going to say, we just started doing some video.
Yep.
So we're starting to dabble in video. We know a lot of people love video. So look for more video stuff, hopefully, in the coming months and years. But, we're continuing to visit parks, continuing to write articles about places that we've been but haven't written about yet. And, we will keep churning out new information and tips for our readers, and hopefully inspiring people to get out on the road and get into the parks and just check out the country, check out the world.
And, just to since we've been writing since 2016, we've got a lot of older posts, and we're actually in the process of going through and updating the heck out of all of those older posts to make sure the information is current. So as you're looking at it, we added in on the website the functionality to see when it was most updated by. So check it up at the top. That will give you an idea how current that information is. And if I haven't gotten to it, feel free to message us and we will get you the information that you need. We are very responsive via email or via comments on the blog, etc., to getting back to our readers in terms of getting them the most current information we have.
Yep.
That's a great resource to have. And then, so spring break just happened.
Right.
Does that get you trunky for hitting the road?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine. What are your plans for this summer then?
We were actually just putting together a trip. Actually, this summer will probably be the first summer we don't actually take our RV out on a big trip, which is going to be a little bit weird, but we are going to a travel blog conference in San Juan, Puerto Rico for a couple of weeks, about a week in July. And so we're throwing in the Virgin Islands as well. So we're going to spend July doing, the national parks and the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico. So obviously we will not be taking our camper with us to the islands. Wish we could. And so I think we're going to try to squeeze a couple of trips in, before that, but probably not with the camper, unfortunately, just because of timing and
Right.
whatnot. I've got some professional development over the summer as well to squeeze in. So we're kind of working around a couple of things. But we're gonna take the camper out at least for a couple of weekends, and
Yeah. Our next trip with the camper is actually to go up to I guess they do it twice a year now, the Hike, Bike, and Brew Festival at Lula Lake, which is on the north end of Georgia, not far from Cloudland Canyon State Park, and it's a land trust. And like twice a year, they have this bit where you can come in and walk around this park, and they have a whole bunch of breweries from the greater Chattanooga area come out, and you get to walk by with the cup that they give you and sample a whole bunch of brews.
Yeah,
And so we're going to meet some of our dear friends who coincidentally own a winery in North Georgia, and we're going to meet them up at a campground up there, camp out for the weekend, and go walk around and drink some brews.
Well, sounds like it could be a very memorable trip or a very unmemorable trip, depending on how much consumption you have. Huh?
Yeah. We'll be responsible.
I'm sure you will. Teachers generally are, right? So fantastic. Well, let's shift gears a little bit. You've got a new book out, USA RV Adventures. Give us an overview of what the book's all about.
So the book is 25 itineraries. So it's itineraries to take you around the country, visiting a lot of national parks, but not only national parks. There's some other, state parks or public lands, or we hit a few cities and just, random things here and there. But it's basically, we tried to make it as best we could, something that you could pick up and just follow this itinerary turn by turn. Here's where to go, what to do when I get there, where to eat, where to sleep.
It's very much a turnkey solution for someone who is looking to, if they've never taken an RV trip before, we've taken a lot of the planning out of their hands and said, okay, here, follow this. And we've made a point, one of the big differences between this book and, say, just a typical road trip book is not just that we're using campgrounds instead of hotels. It's that the driving times are geared for RV travel as opposed to normal car travel. We make a point, especially when we're talking about like the trips up in New York and New England, to avoid roads that RVs are banned upon. We make a point in our routes out west to avoid these scary mountain passes.
Or at least warn you that they're there.
Or at least warn you. Like, for example, on our Colorado route, we make our point in our driving directions to say, hey, avoid the $1 Million Highway, but take your towed vehicle over it, because that's an amazing experience. We include things like, where's the nearest grocery store? Because unlike regular road trippers, RVers are, out there cooking breakfast, etc., and knowing where you can find good groceries before getting to Western North Dakota to Medora, because there isn't a grocery store anywhere nearby. Right. But you got to go to experience the Medora musical, the Pitchfork Fondue, and Theodore Roosevelt National Park. So we make a point with this is to really include all of these amazing places that are along the way, not just the national parks that we kind of focus on with the blog.
Yeah.
Very cool. So give us a sampling of maybe your top 3 road trips that are included in the book.
Ooh. That you might get a very different opinion between the two of us on that as to which road trips that we say are our top 3. But I'll let Bonnie go ahead.
Well, we do have the Mighty Five loop in there. So if you want to go to the Utah Mighty Five, that's probably a great one that lots of people want to do. Fairly easy to do in an RV. So it's right there on what order to do them, what to do once you get there, again, the restaurants, the campgrounds, all the things you would want along the way, the hikes to do that we suggest doing and all of that. What else do you want to include?
Oh, I'm going to include the Best of the Dakotas route because that is probably, between the two of us, our favorite route because we absolutely love the Black Hills of South Dakota along with the western North Dakota and eastern Wyoming. We spent the summer of 2020 during the pandemic in the Custer, South Dakota, and just absolutely love the entire area. Cannot say enough great things about that particular destination.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
And then we have some grand tours. So most of our trips are probably in the 7 to 10 day range. We've got some as short as 5 days, but we do have some longer ones, including what we call the Grand Loop of the National Parks of the West. That's 35 days, I think, that takes you through.
Oh wow!
Yellowstone and Yosemite. It does go to Yosemite.
It goes
right?
to Yosemite, Crater Lake, Grand Canyon, Rocky Mountain.
So that's the biggie. That if you've got a month and you want to see all the parks, we include that as well. So there's 25 routes, all over the country with varying, links. Some are loops, some are just a point to point. Try to do a good variety of things in there for everybody and to give people things that are closer or things that would be more of a destination.
Yeah.
Oh, what a great resource, especially that it's RV centric, right? That this is for RV travelers.
Yeah.
And I assume that even if somebody's not an RV traveler, they can still take your advice on the routes to take and places to go and things to see.
Yeah,
absolutely. Sure. The only thing I would say to the non-RV traveler who's using our book is understand that the driving times are going to be shorter if you're just driving in a car.
Right.
Because we make a point to pace it out for an RV, and especially one, being able to move from campground to campground. We pace that out pretty well to keep it from being an overwhelming day.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so you've tempted us all. How do we get a copy?
It's at pretty much every bookstore. It might be easier to get it online than in a local bookstore. Pretty much any online book retailer, you can get it. And
I will say, one of the coolest moments for us, just as first-time book authors, was walking into our local bookstore and finding a copy on the shelf.
Yeah.
And just that moment was just so thrilling for both of us. Yes.
And I think they only had like one copy. So, in a local bookstore, they may not have tons, but it's Moon Guides. They're a big name in the guidebook industry. They're the 63 national parks is, a big seller for them. So it's a good addition with that. And we know that author, Becky Lomax, she is fantastic. And so, it would work really well if you're looking for RVing and national parks to kind of get those together.
Oh, very cool. Well, that's exciting. And congratulations on authoring a book and getting it published.
Yeah.
That's quite a feat.
It was definitely a lot of work, a lot more than we expected, a lot different than writing a blog where, it's just like, click here for more information. Oh, wait, no, I have to write all that more information right here in this one spot.
And okay, let me sit down and map out these directions turn by turn and making sure that I hit every single bit so that I'm giving you the exact right directions.
Right.
And speaking of the book versus the blog, one thing I wanted to point out, we have created an article for the blog that basically has all of the different routes that are found in the book. And that's where we are going in. And as we find, updated information that we need to post, things along those lines, we have that online resource on the blog ready to go.
So we kind of do a little overview of the routes and then any updates or specifics, or there have been a few typos and errors that we've noticed, so, we're noting that. So that's a good resource too, if you want to just kind of either get a preview or get a, double, if something doesn't sound right, get a double check of it. So.
Right. And so is there information in the book that people would not get from your blog?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
You're not going to find grocery store recommendations on the blog, but you will find it in the book.
Occasionally we might throw something in, but typically not. But also on the blog, we don't write about places that we haven't actually been. And there are a few places in the book that we did include some stops that were purely research based. And so there's a little bit of that is definitely, we have nothing about Southern California on our blog, but we do have a Southern California route in the book. So yeah, there's a few different things.
Well, great. Sounds like a wonderful resource. Again, everybody check the show notes. The name of the book, USA RV Adventures. And so check that out and look at your local bookstores or online book retailers to get a copy. In wrapping things up here, Grant and Bonnie, any advice that you have for anyone who may be considering starting a travel blog or authoring a travel book?
Well, one, they're two very different things. So know what you want to do. And I would definitely not try to bite off both of them at the same time. Choose one. We were lucky enough that we had the publisher with the book, that Moon Guides was looking to do an RV book. And so we basically applied with them to be the authors. I know, a lot of people do self-publish books or write the book first and then go find a publisher. So, we don't have any experience in that route because we applied to write a book that they wanted done. But it was fun. It was certainly a challenge.
Yes, the deadlines were particularly a challenge,
Right.
and refining our writing to be more, more detail oriented than we typically do for the blog. That was definitely a big change in how we do things.
Right.
And it would seem that blog readers are a lot more forgiving of, little snafu or something like that. Right. When you're authoring a book, you've got to be pretty spot on.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And then, starting a website or a blog of any kind is just a lot that goes into it. And, I guess it kind of depends. What do you want to get out of it? Do you want to make money off of it, or do you want to just do it as a hobby? And there's so much in terms of simply the technical aspect, I guess is the word I'm like, of operating a website and keeping it running, that you have to be kind of tech oriented with that, or pay somebody. And then, if you're looking to make money, how are you going to do that? And, do you want people to find you in search engine results? And what is the latest Google algorithm? Why can I not speak? What is that algorithm doing today? And is it going to find you? Are you making reels to put on Instagram or not? And so lots of stuff to, I would say, research and prepare ahead of time, that I don't want to say we didn't do, but in hindsight, I would have done a lot more before starting, I think.
Right. We kind of went with the aspect of, okay, if we build it, they will come. And the reality of it is, if you don't build the roads to get there, they won't know you're there.
Right.
And it took us, there was a lot of trial by fire of, okay, let's go out and do this. Okay, we're not being successful. What do we need to change?
Right.
And I would say the biggest recommendations I have is go in and start learning some of the back end stuff first, like learning search engine optimization, learning how to edit photos and size them properly, etc. Learn video, because everybody wants video, and how to size that and export it properly for social media, and learn all of those skills, and then start writing about your destinations before you ever even get close to publishing the website.
Right. Yeah.
And
there's tons of courses, tons of resources, tons of stuff out there, because there's tons of people doing it. So, if you want to be successful, you have to be better than everybody else.
Or at the very least, hit upon the niche.
Right. The right niche.
And
for sure.
That's been one of the, to be frank, that's been one of our struggles as a blog, is because while we do focus a good bit on national parks and RV travel, we also road trip, we also cruise, we also travel internationally. And so, our niche is a bit, it's not very niche.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that makes for a bit of challenge in that regard. But honestly, the teacher in us knows that, getting out there and getting that information out there for folks, even if it's, okay, this person really likes cruising, but they stumble across our Yellowstone articles, that they're going to look at it and go, okay, this is somebody that, knows how I travel, and this is what they do.
Right. And you may inspire somebody to take a step that they wouldn't take otherwise.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And, if I can encourage, the cruiser out there to go out and rent an RV and try an RV vacation, I've won. If I can encourage the RVer to park the RV and, and hop off and take a week-long cruise, I've won. If I can encourage both of them to hop on an international flight and go see Europe or Asia or Africa, I've won.
Yeah.
So it's all about travel and
the experiences that you can have along the way, seeing new places, having new adventures, understanding new cultures, and just, broadening your horizons along the way.
That's fantastic. You guys have inspired me, and I hope everybody listening here is inspired as well. Check out the Wander-Filled Life, and also the book, USA RV Adventures. And it's been such a wonderful treat to have you guys on this year's convention. And wow, thank you so much. And quite honestly, I'm thrilled that you guys are going to more video, because you guys are a beautiful couple.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hey, we look forward to having you be part of the convention, and I hope that our paths cross again in the future. Thank you so much, Grant and Bonnie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure chatting with you.
You bet. And everybody stay tuned for more insight stories and tips as we continue our convention lineup. And until then, we'll see you on the road. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of RVCast. We hope you enjoyed hearing about our latest adventures on the road.
And don't forget, if you're itching to explore unique and interesting RV destinations, be sure to download the Curb and Turf app.
That's right. Curb and Turf, it's your go-to for finding those hidden gems off the beaten path. And hey, if you own property and you want to share your slice of paradise with fellow travelers, why not become a host yourself?
Absolutely. Just head over to curbandturf.com/start hosting to get started, or reach out to us for more information.
Yeah, and you don't want to miss a future episode. So be sure to subscribe to RVCast so that you never miss a beat.
Until next time, happy trails and safe travels.
We'll see you on the road.